Time right now is 8:30. Good Thursday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. This morning we are streaming live on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. So good morning to those of you checking this out on video as well. My guest this morning is District 30 State Senator Mike Dugan. We're going to catch up with him out of session for, I guess, good month, good 2 months maybe at this point. Yeah. And my name's Colin Worthington, by the way. And again, Mike Dugan. Georgia State Senator Mike Dugan, an Army veteran and conservative businessman, represents the 30th District in the State Senate, which includes portions of Carroll, Douglas, and Paulding counties. He was sworn into the Senate way back in January of 2013, so that's a solid decade. Mm-hmm. Right? Can you quit now and collect your insurance and your retirement and all that good stuff?
For the rest of my life?
Yeah.
No, that's not the way it works in the state. We do get a retirement, but it's the money that we've put in. And by the way, I also have all of Haralson County too.
Oh, you know what? I took that off of your website, and I know that. I'm sorry, I took that off of your website.
That tells me I need to update my website.
Right, that's the original one too. There's a couple other things on there that I saw that jumped out that were inaccurate immediately. But yes, darn it. So, don't forget Haralson County. You're absolutely right. I had talked to you a couple weeks ago. Just reached out to you to talk about artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. But first of all. You were recently selected by Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to be part of a new commission produced to review nearly 100 years of licensing rules. I think that right there is enough reason to review that. 100 years licensing rules and regulations and implement a 21st century regulatory framework to accommodate the rapidly changing Georgia workforce. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, there's actually 3 of them that I'm on this summer. So you got that one. You've got another one that the Lieutenant Governor has appointed me to that's about occupational licenses. So this would be more the industry as a whole, okay. And the other one would be more individuals within those industries. So they're complementary of each other. They're separate, but they're kind of complementary. The one you just mentioned right there is think of a boat, a seagoing boat, and it sits out there and it keeps getting barnacles on it. Every time you add another build, it's like putting another barnacle on that boat. Mm-hmm. It's just time to pull it back in and make sure that the stuff that's in there that's accumulated over the years is still needs to be in there. And if it doesn't, let's get rid of it. And
what's an example of why something wouldn't need to be in there?
Well, if it's not pertinent to the safety and efficiencies of conducting business within the state and the people that it serves within the state, then it probably doesn't be in there. It's those regulations are not supposed to be protectionist programs for people that are already in the industry to prevent other ones from coming in. That's not what their intent is. So if we get in there and we find out that the only reason that this is here is because somebody's put it in there to prevent competition, then that needs to come out.
One of the things that I noticed in one of your committees, I don't know if it's the same one or not, but an attempt to make it easier for former felons to get work. What's stopping them from getting work? And I guess tell us about that committee.
Well, if you have a felony, and everybody thinks of a felon as a violent criminal, there's a lot of felony charges.
And you have to put that on those job applications, right? Mm-hmm. There's the question, and you have to put that.
It depends on what you're doing. You're prevented from doing some jobs if you have a felony. Some you're not. But if you're a non-violent felon and you paid your debt to society, and we actually want you to get back to being a productive citizen, then we ought to reduce some of the barriers that we have that disable you from being able to be that productive citizen. Now, if you're a violent or predatory, then there's still going to be restrictions.
Mm-hmm. Are you working with the reentry programs?
We have in the past, and I'm sure they'll be involved in this process too. Mm-hmm. Everybody that's engaged within this sphere, that every time we have them all come in and help us draft what's going forward.
Mike Dugan is District 30 State Senator for the state of Georgia. He's from Carrollton, represents all of Carroll County and all of Haralson County, and no more Douglas County, or a little bit of Douglas and a little bit of
I got more of Douglas than I do of Paulding.
A little bit of Douglas, a little bit of Paulding, but all of Carroll and all of Haralson County. Our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. So after this committee, will you guys try and present some legislation for the next session, or
that's intent.
All right.
Oh, and the third one I didn't tell you about is again, this was a lieutenant governor appointment. a year or so ago, there was a surprise trip to a lot of us with some of our outgoing elected officials to Germany.
I recall that one. Yeah.
So now I'm part of a 4-person panel that reviews all expenditures within the Senate for trips and just basic expenditures.
Wow.
That's
well, how long is that committee? I mean, is that committee just for this year, or is that
it's
for
perpetuity?
As long as you're in there. All right. Again, Mike Dugan, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. What I called you and talked to you about, we talked for about a half hour about it actually last week. I'll tell you what got me on this. Josh, who hosts this show every now and then, he came in here and brought in some artificially intelligence created Beatles songs. Some music. I mean, it just blew me away. I mean, how much it sounds like it would have been the Beatles if they did it. And then 2 days later, I ended up watching the Jared Fogle documentary. And if you remember Jared Fogle, he's the Subway guy and not too smart, got in some big trouble. But then I was thinking about because he dealt with potential for some kiddie porn. Started thinking about what if artificial intelligence that's going to be able to create some legitimate pictures. That people, and I don't think there are any laws. How do you prosecute somebody for owning that, for that artificially intelligence created imagery? I mean, are there laws on the books right now, or do you see is that something that maybe legislators need to work on?
We need to work on it. I think the discussions you and I had, unfortunately, that's a federal regulated.
Okay.
That would be under the FCC, especially not the creation of, but the transfer of would be up under the FCC.
What about possession of it? I mean, would that not be state?
If you create something on your computer using AI and it stays on your hard drive, I'm not sure how you would how you'd do something with that. AI is an issue. AI is everybody, even in the industry, goes AI is an issue. Unfortunately, you just don't have enough extremely tech savvy people, and because that's kind of higher end technology, that fully understand it well enough that you could keep the good aspects of it, which there are some, and get rid of all the potentiality of danger. But I mean, I saw something in the news the other day. It was a commentary that was saying AI is an extinction tool, that it could probably wipe us all out if it's like iRobot. I mean, they take over, then they don't need us.
I see nationally, maybe about 2 months ago, there was a committee put together, a discussion of a committee anyway, to review that and ways to slow it down for a little bit and dig deeper in it. Do we need something like that on the state level?
Well, yeah, if we could on the state level, we'd do it on the state level. But even at the federal level, they're going to have challenges because they don't regulate what goes on in Germany or China or Japan. They can say we would enter an agreement, but there's no enforcement outside the U.S. of somebody that's creating AI.
So as of right now, as of today, say later on this afternoon, somebody sends me a video of Mike Dugan saying, I want to be Joe Biden's running mate, and I love Joe, and then I play that on the news tomorrow. Any punishment for that at all?
You would get sued. The person who did that would get sued because there's a difference between those laws are already on the book.
Okay.
If you, would be defamation, would be.
But I'm pretty confident that I know what you look like, I know what you sound like, and I'm 100% sure. Obviously, I would call you and say, Mike, I'm going to put this out. Do you have anything to say extra about it? But if somebody did that, I mean, you're saying it's more of a civil thing at this point.
Oh yeah. I mean, that would be the obvious extreme on that, but you could make all kinds of stuff that puts somebody in a compromising situation through AI, and then you would have a legal issue at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, you're probably going to be a target in the future. I mean, as piddly as I am, I mean, my voice is out there, it's saved on the internet and things like that. I mean,
well, just think of, what was it, National Enquirer. How many times they get sued for falsifying pictures and stories within? I think that I'm not even sure they're still around anymore.
I'll have to get to the grocery store and stand in line for a little bit and find out for sure. Hey, time right now is 8:40. Our guest this morning is District 30 State Senator Mike Dugan, and We're going to take our first break and come back. Got plenty of things to talk about this morning. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post those on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and we'll be sure to share them with Mr. Dugan. When we come back, Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
I'm Michael Flynn, Oak Mountain Academy class of 1978.
Katie Flynn, class of 2010.
Justin Flynn, class of 2014.
Logan Flynn, class of 2019.
And I'm Marnie Flynn, current teacher at OMA.
My uncle Richard Orm Flynn, a founding father of Oak Mountain Academy, had a vision to see students become confident leaders who hold a faith-based value system in an academically rigorous environment. We are proud to celebrate 60 years of fulfilling my uncle's vision.
Our family invites you to visit the campus or oakmountain.us today.
Time right now is 8:41. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Mike Dugan, my guest on this morning's Community Voice program, District 30 State Senator. You owe me about $2 now. It's your second cup.
I know. Y'all's commercial breaks used to be longer.
No, I think they used to be 30 seconds, Mike. You just have that old porn music that was the bumper music. We would just play that a long time. Again, Mike Dugan, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Hey, how come we don't make Election Day a holiday?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. You know, I will put in there that you have mandatory time off from your place of employment on Election Day. We extended that to 2 hours anytime during the early voting period during the week. You've got so much time beforehand, and then you can no excuse absentee mail-in ballots, early voting. If anything that we can do to encourage people to vote, I'm okay with, as long as we're abiding by the security aspect. Mm-hmm. It's got to be safe, secure, and accessible. And I think it's funny, when sometimes you get people go, how are we going to make voting more accessible? And the last two elections have trumped the other one on numbers that have voted. So, I mean, it's pretty accessible now.
Well, as far as the changes you guys made over the last couple sessions, have you seen anything that, has anything come back that you're like, oh, well, that's a little tweak, we could fix that? Anything that's jumped out at all? Because, I mean, you put it out there, so usually something happens.
There's nothing major that comes to mind right now. We're looking at, and like I said before, we have more people that have ever voted in Georgia elections that have voted. And the way it's set up now, we're able to give the results back faster and more securely than we ever have. It's not anymore this, well, let's take the full week after and make sure that we need to recount stuff. We feel like we've gotten that tackled. But if we want to have a holiday to have people vote, now if they don't go vote, do they have to go to work on that day?
See, it's a good call. That's fair enough. Maybe you just have to prove it to get paid that day. Like, you could take that day off, but if you don't bring back your little sticker or something,
and
you don't get paid.
So now we got a what do you call it? We got an illegal industry that's producing the I voted stickers for people that you can get for a quarter.
1 month ago on this program, Herb Cranford, the district attorney for Coweta Judicial Circuit, was on this program, and he talked about an interest to split the Coweta Judicial Circuit. And he he tried to do it about 5 or 6 years ago, and then there's the group that's the next level who does a review, and they just said, "Nah, you guys don't need it." Well, he's wanted to do it since then, but apparently he's pushing it again now. Recently, talked to a couple of counties, local counties in that district, and they had approved that they support that. Approved measures that they support that. Now, Carroll County is going to. They're discussing putting together a committee to review the pros and cons of doing something like that. So it is, affecting us now. Carroll County. I believe the Judge Simpson's going to present that to Board of Commissioners today, maybe it's next Tuesday. The end result of that is it needs to be put before state legislators, for approval if they decide to split that. What's your opinion on where that stands? Actually, what is the entire process, first of all, before it does get to you guys?
Even further back than what you're talking about, then Representative Hightower and I, 9 years ago, had to do an additional review of the circuit to see if it warranted being split. At that time, they said the numbers warranted, but they only approved so many per year, and it would have been so far down the list. They said, you can do it, but you're going to have to pay for it. You're not going to get state funding for it. So that was put on a shelf. And then Mr. Cranford started again a few years ago, re-looking at it because the caseload had gone up. And then we finally now have, it probably ought to be split because of the numbers. And they came back with a recommendation based off those numbers of what that circuit would look like. Now, you have 5 counties within that circuit. And so you have Carroll, Heard, Troup, Coweta, and Meriwether. The numbers show that it ought to be Carroll, Heard, and Troup in a circuit, and Coweta and Meriwether in a circuit. Where the discussion is stemming right now is Troup. Both sides say they want Troup in their circuit.
And is that because they love Troup County so much, or is that kind of political? Is that has to do with the judges and maybe the DA working in those counties? Because if it worked out, if it did split, Herb would no longer be our district attorney. We'd have to be appointed one, I guess, initially.
Well, either way the circuit breaks, he wouldn't be our district attorney.
Our district attorney, right? Yeah. But
unless he moved.
Yeah.
Which I don't
in
see
Carroll
happening.
County, no. So they, but if one was brought to you, if this was brought to you at the end and all the counties supported it and was brought to the legislative session this year, next year, would you be the one to lead it and present it?
Probably not. We have lawyers within our circuit that I think would be more appropriate to carry judicial type legislation. But I would like to see the argument of not following the numbers based off the recommendation. If they're wanting to go with the Coweta, Troup, Meriwether circuit, I'd have to look long and hard because that's not what the numbers are saying based off the caseload.
Yeah. So basically, Carroll, Heard, and Troup, you'd be more likely to support.
I'd be more likely to support that.
That split, okay. And maybe they'll come out with the committee and the investigation by Carroll County government, assuming the Board of Commissioners do support that today. Another committee that you were on last year that I'd meant to talk about, that Quality Basic Education, did a review on that. Considered, you may have actually brought. I can't remember if you brought forth some legislation last year and it just didn't make it through.
No. Excuse me. The governor trumped me on one of them.
Son of a gun.
Nah, it's all good as long as we're getting to the goal. One his was increased counselors in the schools.
Right.
So there were 3 areas that we saw that needed immediate improvement. Our QBE formula is actually not bad. Even as long as it's been around, it's not bad. But there's some stuff in there or it's not in there, that needs to be modified. There is no technology line in the QBE formula. Because when it was done in 1983, there wasn't the technology that they're using now in the school systems. So we need to figure out how to incorporate that. Excuse me. The counselor to student ratio, and off the top of my head, I think it's 1 to 247 kids.
Now?
Yes. that's bad. There are school psychologists in the QBE formula. And I think it's 1 to 450 kids off the top of my head. Neither one of those are legitimately going to be able to do their job. And you go, well, the counselor and the psychologist, isn't that redundant? The counselor's actually, in the QBE formula, is actually responsible for academic advancement of students.
Yeah, that's how I see it, yeah.
Oftentimes they're seen as psychologists.
Yeah.
The issue that we're having with the school psychologists, I can make that number 1 to 1. I don't have the school psychologists.
Not enough people who they don't exist. Right.
There's only 2 universities in the university system that actually have that program, and those programs are not full. So it's how do we, with the mental health issue that we are having within the school systems, and it's I'm a boomer, but it has gotten much more prevalent since social media has become the norm, and anybody who disputes that has not looked at the numbers. But we obviously need more help in that area.
We got Mark Latanzio watching us this morning.
Hey, Mark.
He says it needs it. I'm trying to see what we talked about where he the split. That's what he was talking about. I got you. Hey, good morning to you, Mark. Thanks for checking us out on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. And anybody else who wants to tune in via the Facebook page, please feel free to do so. And you can post any comments and questions up there. And after this final break, I'll look at those and hopefully share them with Mr. Dugan here on Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
As a believer in the power of education, we are called to set the standard by shaping and empowering the minds of future generations through quality education. Oak Mountain Academy embraces this philosophy, which is why my children attend this prestigious school. I am elated to serve on the OMA Board of Trustees, where together we prepare students and remind them to trust and believe in the power to transform the world. I'm Dr. Brian Bain, inviting you to celebrate our 60-year legacy of academic excellence. Visit us at oakmountain.us.
8:52. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice on this Thursday morning. My name is Colin Worthington. Our guest is District 30 State Senator Mike Dugan. Again, we got about 7 minutes left in the show here. I'm going to try and sneak out a couple of questions for you. The fight over how Georgia conducts runoff elections kind of began last year at the urging of Brad Raffensperger, and nothing came in the last legislation. Do you see us revisiting that in the coming legislative session?
We're kind of an anomaly in Georgia. We're one of the, I think, only 3 states that have a majority requirement on elections. Most of them have a plurality, and we actually have plurality, obviously, for the presidential race. The rest of them are majority. So, yeah, that will always be open for discussion. What I've also seen is the question about ranked choice voting. So it would do away with the runoff because you would pick like my first choice, second choice, third choice on a ballot, and that would be an automatic. So the lowest one is out. It goes right back into the computer and comes back in. And we actually use that kind of right now. Military overseas ballots are ranked choice ballots. So we have a hybrid. The issue with ranked choice ballots to eliminate the runoff, nobody's ever done it with a state the size we are. You know, they do it in some, I think Maine uses ranked choice voting, but there's not, the population is significantly different in Maine.
I just wonder if everybody, if we did approve that, I wonder if everybody would participate in it, if all voters would do that, or they just pick one. It's like, my gosh.
They would throw their other votes away if they did that.
Right, yeah, but if they just disliked number 2 or number 3 so much, maybe they would.
That would be the equivalent of somebody going into an election now and having a full ballot and skipping a race because they didn't like the candidates that were in that race.
About 2 months ago, Jason Anavitardi had posted something on his Facebook, State Senator Jason Anavitardi, and I exchanged text with him about that, banning land purchases. And I believe, China was one of the countries that was banned, and there's a number of countries that are banned from purchasing land in the U.S. Is that a problem right now? Is that getting ahead of any potential problems for the future? Or and I did do some research on who owns agricultural land in the state, and I didn't see China in there at all. A lot of it's like Blenheim. I'm guessing English and Norwegian people who owned agricultural property in the state of Georgia. Anyway, what's the concern about that?
It's not just agricultural land. That is one, but it's also property within a certain proximity to military installations.
Okay,
so that's both, and it's not. Everybody always goes when Senator Anavartardi was talking about China.
Right. That's what caught my attention.
It's the group of, and I'm going to use the base term for it. This is not how it's exactly written in the federal law. The belligerent countries, as defined by the State Department. So right now it's China. 15 years from now, when China's a full democracy and one of our strongest allies, they wouldn't be on that list. Somebody else would have taken that spot. But it makes no sense to make land that's critical to the safety and feeding of our nation.
And the feeding then is the key there.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, are they looking for?
We can trade with them all day long. If they want to buy our chicken, we'll sell them their chicken. But they ought not buy the land.
Are they looking at it as an investment, or is it an intimidating thing, or is it, when these other countries are looking to buy that?
Yeah, I have suspicions. But if you control the area around your military and you control the land where food is grown, you kind of control the country.
There's a couple of pieces of legislation that you were part of that you're a primary listed on them that didn't make it through. Maybe they're still sitting in the Senate hopper. This one's SB 330. You remember this one?
Remember we reuse those numbers all the time? So I know what the title of them is, but I don't remember the numbers.
Well, this one's okay. This one's relating to dogs, so as to provide protections for dogs kept outdoors. These statewide. I know we try and do something like on a local level. I know the county has talked about that. And Leslie McPherson, city council up in Villa Rica, is that you can do it statewide.
It's the dogs on a lead thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you just put your name on that one, Mike?
I may have.
And you didn't read that?
No, that's not true.
Okay.
But it's one of those that obviously has not advanced. And, you're looking at, what is that, Senate Bill what?
It'd be 330.
330.
And I really just, pulled that one out 5 seconds before the show started. I just copied and pasted it and said, ooh,
remember,
dogs.
there were 3,472 pieces of legislation that were introduced this last year.
No.
Some of them I need to go back through and reread.
Got about 2 minutes left in the show. You recently, which I just thought was great. You recently spoke to the Carroll County Democrats. Had, I guess, about an hour meeting with them. And we don't see enough like that. Drew Ferguson wouldn't do that. I'm 100% sure. But yeah, that was, you'd think I don't know how that turned out. I don't know if you left with your tail between your legs and crying or anything like that. But I mean, you need to be commended for going to that.
Yeah, I've seldom left a meeting with my tail between my legs.
That's why I feel confident saying that. I knew it.
No, I mean, they're my constituents. We don't agree on a lot of different topics, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have a discussion.
For the next several months, what are you into? People reach out to you, get in touch with you, just send you information through Facebook? Or
obviously, all those different committees that I'm on for the summer is going to keep me a little bit busy. Seeing our first grandbaby is going to keep me a little bit busy. And people tend to forget we all have day jobs. So they kind of expect me to come in the office and do my day job while I'm out of session too.
And your daughter promised that she watches and listens to me every day, so we'll say good morning to her. She's up in D.C., right?
That's right.
All right. 8:59, Mike. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks
good
for coming in.
Thank you for letting me be here. And I see my product placement with your cup here.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to this morning's Community Voice, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. Stay tuned now for national news.